smishing. Can you? It's effectively SMS phishing, is that right? So
that's exactly it, Dollin.
Specifically through texts.
It's through text messages. And firstly, I'd like to thank the opportunity for Manx Radio to let us reach out to your listeners in addition to our social media sites. But as you say, smishing is a text attempt to send a message to individuals purporting to be from a recognised name. In this particular instance, if I can go through that with you, what will happen is someone will receive a message purporting to come from the Isle of Man Bank, and it will look very believable. In many cases, it will show a string of messages that look plausible to have come from the bank. But what the fraudsters are doing, it's not just sending the message to customers of the Isle of Man Bank, it's essentially just scale targeting of all sorts of Manx mobile phone numbers. And given the fact that we're in a small jurisdiction and how big the Isle of Man Bank is as a bank, there's a fair chance they're going to hit Isle of Man Bank customers. Non-customers will just reject the message, but Isle of Man Bank customers are going to see something that purportedly could come from the bank.
So what's effectively the danger here is people are given a telephone number through the text message itself, which they're encouraged to ring, and effectively then their personal details are taken from them, but in a way which, as you've said, is sort of particularly convincing, looks authentic.
Yes, Dollin. I mean, what actually happens is the message that we're seeing up to now, it comes and says it's from the bank's fraud department and is indicating that a transaction has been blocked. The figures we're seeing at the moment, it says an amount of £2,499 to Amazon, but in the last few hours we've started seeing the name change to Apple, so effectively any big retailer, and saying that it's been blocked as a transaction and encouraging the customer to phone the number. And what's really, really important to stress is that we will not ask you to phone the number on that text message. It's not something we do. And anyone that receives an instruction or a message like that should use a number that's either on their bank statements, on the bank's website, or on the back of their card. But they shouldn't contact the message number.
This has been happening particularly over the last week, over half term, and perhaps even specifically on Friday, when people were perhaps at their most relaxed, if you like, as well.
I mean, that's right. What we see typically is it will happen over a bank holiday period or over a school holiday period. A lot of the times people's heads are in a different space, but equally, if you do that on a Friday, banks are going to have skeleton staff on, so it's going to be harder to detect things, and transactions can happen over a weekend. So that's typically what we'll say, yes.
What advice would you give to people who think perhaps they may have been a victim of this kind of fraud, and what precautions can they be taking?
So if we start first and foremost with precautions, so as I'd said before, don't phone the number that's on the actual message. You know, at this stage, fraudsters are opportunists. They will be going through and expecting someone to make a call. If they don't, fine. So if you don't phone them and phone the bank's number, then that's the most important thing, and we can start that dialogue. If a customer does feel that their account has been compromised, again, if they phone us, what we'll do is we'll work through that situation. What's also important to note is if at any time you're on a phone, if you do get a phone call from someone purporting to be the bank, if at any time a customer's uncomfortable, just put the phone down. We won't be concerned about that, won't be worried. Just go onto the website, check your statements, and phone us back. We'll be more than happy to deal with that.
Is this something which happens often? I know this has been a particularly vicious and, as I say, well concocted, you must say, attempt at fraud, but is it a regular occurrence?
The problem you've got is fraudsters have time on their side. They will have access to a wide range of data, which is phone numbers in this particular case, and so they can stay dormant for quite some time, and then all of a sudden will launch a series of messages. So as fast as procedures and security changes, fraudsters will be coming up with new ideas. The important thing is through the bank's social media sites and through the likes of Manx Radio, just as soon as you know about it, share anything that comes off our social media pages, talk to friends, talk to colleagues. But I just reiterate again, don't ever phone the number on the message. Phone the bank and we'll take it from there.